intro. Hi, everyone. It's Moms on the Right, and we are back to talk about what's been happening over the weekend and this week, some of the zany woke things that we experienced, and some other kind of fun topics. So let's just jump right in. So Roslyn, you have something you wanted to talk about.
I did. Hi, ladies. Good to see you again. So as you know, or maybe you don't, but I'll remind you again that it's Lent. So 40 days before Easter. And I am a big fan and big supporter of the app Hallow. So if you don't have it, please download it, please use it, please listen to it. And there's one series in particular, Father Mike Schmitz, he does a daily minute homily. And I sent it to Jamie and you, Scarlett, this morning to listen to, because the one today is called Nice is Different Than Good. And I think it's an interesting parallel to our volunteer work with Moms for Liberty. And it really hit home because, and to make it short, trying to recap this, is that there was a group of volunteers. They called themselves the Humane Society, not related to dogs and animals, on the island of Nantucket. And they would volunteer, right? Because the ships would come in and there was rocks there that they might, the ships could wreck, right? And then people would need saving. And so these volunteers took it upon themselves, like, to scan the waterline, right? And if they saw something, they would say something and do something, right? They would shake their bell in their house, and everybody was committed to, like, we see a problem, we see people that need help, we are going to go into this dangerous or uncomfortable, treacherous situation, and we are going to bring back people, right? We are going to help save people. And I just thought it was really interesting because what you're getting at, and I want to hear your thoughts too, and I was joking with Jamie, like, there is a difference between nice and good. And when you think about it in that, like, it's one thing to be nice and polite and to say all the right things and be cordial and, be a part of your community, but it's another to do good and be good, even if it could be a detriment to yourself, right? And I think we've all experienced, potential negative backlash as being members of Moms for Liberty. There's definitely negative backlash to have been in the Humane Society, but you knew you were doing right and doing good and being called to a greater calling. So I thought it was an interesting idea. And I guess, I want to ask the both of you and even those people watching, do you consider yourself nice or good? And maybe people don't even know the difference.
Yeah. Well, this is a big one for me because I'm Midwest nice. So
you're like, can I be both? No, you have to be one or the other. Like,
no, you have to pick. You have to pick.
It's hard.
That's the rule.
Right, let's watch the clip.
Oh, actually, yeah, we're not going to play the clip, Scarlett. I think.
Clip? Okay.
No, Roz gave a good synopsis of.
We're going to check. So what do you say, Jamie? You go first.
So I used my handy dandy chat GPT because I was like, what, when we're talking about, like, nice is different than good, what does that look like? And a lot of it was almost the same thing that you probably remember. And I remember it very vividly from the first summit in Tampa, Marie Rogerson getting up there and talking about, how liberty is different than freedom.
Yes.
Because there's this moral responsibility that comes along with liberty. And I think that's almost similar to what it is to, from being nice to being good, is this moral, there's this moral component of being good over being nice. And so I'm not always nice. And so I choose good. I
think that this is really relevant to me right now because I spent the last 2 weeks going to committee hearings in Wisconsin, where we have been debating really important bills regarding saving girls' sports, whether it's K through 12 or it's collegiate, protecting girls and their privacy in school locker rooms, bathrooms, and also banning so-called gender affirming care for minors. And for hours and hours and hours, people that like you all agree with that, that we don't want to perform this gender affirming care on minors, and we want to protect women's sports. We want to protect the private spaces, even if it hurts someone's feelings. If they identify as trans and it hurts their feelings, like, we've got to do what is good. And they keep arguing, but you have to be nice. And their feelings, you're hurting my feelings. And I saw so much of that. And so this really brings that home, that I think the left has weaponized empathy, so much so that we're told, just smile and be nice, even if it's wrong, even if it's immoral, even if, there's harm. You have to sacrifice what is good, what is true, what is beautiful, if it hurts someone's feelings. So I think you have to be good.
And being good doesn't come without consequence, right? Like, it's almost intrinsic. I'm like, can I try less? Can I do less? And I don't know how. I'm like, sure, I'll show up. Sure, I'll speak out. I'm like, there's enough of me, but that's true. I'm called to do good.
Yeah, I know. There was someone recently on a Facebook post that talked about not having compassion, right? So there was a lot of posts. I shared a story, I shared some of the stories for D-Trans Awareness Day in DC yesterday, and highlighted, the stories that we've heard: January Littlejohn and Chloe Cole, Prisha, Laura Becker, like all these different stories. And someone came in and just was like, you're not very compassionate. I'm like, there's nothing compassionate about lying to children where irreparable harm is concerned, whether that's these mutilating surgeries or puberty blocker. Like, there's nothing compassionate about that. So you want to be nice. I think we need to be good.
And what about, these are a lot of cluster B personalities, a lot of narcissistic personality disorders. So you can be kind, like, you don't have to be mean or heartless, but you to do the right thing means that you have to be grounded in truth, and that may hurt feelings. That may not be perceived as being nice, but we should not be removing healthy body parts just because a child, their feelings might be hurt because they believe that they were born in the wrong body. There's something wrong there. There's an underlying cause for their feelings of distress about their biological sex. And you've got to get to that. That's much harder. I think it's easier to be nice. It's easier to just be nice and, okay, we're going to affirm, instead of doing the hard work of figuring out what's the underlying problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Elon Musk posted recently too, and I might butcher this, but empathy is going to be the downfall of Western civilization. And I think you're saying exactly that, right? Like, if you eliminate liberty for fear of speaking truth and doing good, then how are you going to have a sustained Western civilization, right? And good intentions will be the downfall. I agree with it 100%. Of course, there are people who are like, look what he said. And it's like, where's the lie?
And to make that point, I have actually something for you guys. I don't know if you've heard this, but it's funny, not funny, but this is one of the many, there's so many clips I have to make, but this one will get you.
Also, has no one ever heard of a shower curtain?
I should set this up. She's talking about, before she spoke, 2 young women that are collegiate athletes in Wisconsin, both came forward, and their voice was shaking. They were nervous, but they're very brave. And they said that they were genuinely living in fear that a biological male would come into their locker room, their shower area, and change. And they're distance runners, and they play soccer. So they definitely want to shower after practice or after a meet. And so this person that identifies as non-binary came up to speak after them, and this is what she said.
What the heck, man? Just put up some shower curtains. When I was in college and we had these big showers that everyone went to, like it was an open shower, but there were shower curtains and everybody just wore a towel. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? So just grab a towel, ladies. Jamie, you have daughters. You're gonna tell your daughter, just grab a towel, honey. Just grab a towel. Cover up. So what that there's men with exposing their penises. Just grab a towel.
Absolutely not. That's going to be an absolutely not. I'm tired of and it goes like, right. We always go down this path of the social emotional learning curriculums and all of these things that have been ingrained in our kids to consider the feelings of others. Yeah, sacrifice their own safety and feelings for the feelings of someone else. And I'm going to say no. Nope, not interested in that.
Do you see that, Roslyn? Do you see that link to social emotional learning?
I mean, what she's asking, like, hey, be nice to accommodate me, right? Like, you get rid of your liberty, right. You get rid of your privacy, you go do all these things for me. It's one thing if someone says, I choose to go into a co-ed sport, a co-ed locker room. If I choose to do that, it's another to be forced to do it. Like, I don't even want to be undressed in front of my female OBGYN. Why on earth would I want to be in a public, let's just say public, like open to a single sex locker room with a male? Again, I won't even have a male OBGYN. I don't want my son in a space with, young female athletes. Like, it's already challenging enough to, go through puberty and then to have to potentially be exposed. And in that capacity, that's very raw. Why would we want that for our children?
So you have a son.
I think we've seen time
I was just going to say
again that that's
and I don't want my son,
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a fetish. I have a son. You have a son. I also don't want my son in a locker room with teenage girls, particularly because in this climate, something happens and he could be accused of sexual assault or harassment, and he would not be comfortable like in that situation, I think. But teenage boys. I mean, I bet a lot of teenage boys are like, yeah, I'm all for this. Let's do this. But I mean, Jamie, what about the liability for a school that allows co-ed showering?
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. It's Loudoun County waiting to happen. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the liability and trusting the mandatory reporting processes. I think that we're seeing a lot of breaks in the process.
Yep. And
so no, and a lot of again is this willingness to say for the minority, right? Because part of the argument is like, well, this is such a small minority of people. Okay, yeah, except for that they want to, demand affirmation at the expense of a larger population of kids. So, if you feel like a girl or you feel like a boy today and that's all about you, then go change in the single-use bathroom.
Yep.
Right.
Autogynephilia is real too. There will be men that take advantage of the fact that there's this co-ed showering and they're just going to say, oh yeah, I feel like a woman, and then go in there just to leer at girls. And there's predators that will use this kind of stupid take on a policy, co-ed showering in high schools and colleges. I mean, it's insanity. It's insanity. Yet there wasn't a single Democrat that would jump in and say, oh no, you're going too far, because they have to be nice and affirm everything.
Nice versus good. It comes back to it.
Okay.
Well, and I think that's
what
it.
else is on the agenda?
It's kind of weak man, hard times, right?
Yep. What's the whole, how does the whole thing go? If it's strong men, good times, weak men, hard times. Yep. And then hard times create strong people. And I don't know where, I think from my view, when I was in Madison, it scares me to think that these people could be in charge of our government. It's truly frightening because there's no sense. I don't know. Their logic is it's clearly without. So yeah, what else do you want to talk about?
The same thing, like we could go into MAHA, right? So like the idea that when COVID happened, it was, be nice, wear your mask, be nice, get your boosters.
Yeah. Isn't it 5 years ago today that schools were shut?
Can you believe it? I was having this conversation the other day, right, about COVID, and it's 5 years ago. And I can say with 100% confidence, and I don't know about the two of you, I am not who I was on March 11th of 2020. I have been awakened, and I cannot go and will not go back to sleep. And it's because of the policies as angry as I was about my son not being able to go to school for a year and a half, it woke me up, right? I'll never be the same. So I guess I want to try and find a blessing in that. And that's, sorry for all those nice people. You got good, Roz.
Yeah. Tough luck. Yeah, I mean, that's true. And I think I joked about this with you earlier, Roz, but when someone comes to me and they say, oh, what do you think about this person? Or what do you say about this person? I had to reflect and say, like, I think that there's a lot of us who have been very active and outspoken. And then there's some who haven't. And I find myself saying like, oh, well, they're nice. But that means like,
is nice a pejorative now? I don't know.
They're nice. They're nice.
Bless their hearts.
They're not, bless their hearts.
Bless them.
But back to MAHA, right? Like we had moms members at the MAHA summit. I don't know if that's the right term for it, earlier this week, right? That was on Monday. And what did Tina say about it?
Roundtable.
Yeah, roundtable.
Oh, right here I had, this was Tina's comment today about the 5 years ago today, everything changed. And this marks the beginning of the Great Parent Awakening. And what we were talking about, I know 5 years ago from today, I was not a political person like I am now. I wasn't engaged in my local government at all. I did not know who my school board members were, did not vote in school board member elections. I only voted like in the big elections. And I really didn't know what was going on in my kids' schools, like not in the way that I do now. I volunteered. I was playground duty, lunch duty, room mom, all of that stuff. But I didn't look into the curriculum. I didn't know what, social emotional learning was. So, I'm a very different person. So out of that tragedy, which it was a tragedy, and we should never forget what they did to our kids, something good happened.
I mean, yeah, we found each other. Like, let's look at that. And, the hundreds of thousands of other mothers who were like, we need, what is happening, right? I mean, so it created a coalition that really didn't exist before. And I can't wait to see where we are in 5 years from now, right? Right when we've had the Trump administration, we've had these changes. I mean, look at all the legislation recently passed about, like West Virginia is leading the charge in getting their dyes removed. I know Virginia, Jamie, you guys signed a bill about school lunches. It's so powerful that the parents are in control right now.
We've made a huge difference. I mean, a seismic difference. I think that Trump would not be president right now were it not for what the mama bears, the moms, the dads, the parents, the grandparents that really got involved and have got involved locally. They've got involved state elections. congressional, Senate, and even presidential. So I think we've made a huge difference. And right now, the Department of Education would not be, that's another topic we want to get to. But first, let's go to the MAHA. I'm looking for that post right now that we put up, which was amazing. It was amazing. Why don't you guys set that up while I find the image here?
Oh, for the roundtable?
We had five members of Moms for Liberty attend the roundtable in DC earlier this week. And I mean, I think it just, and Jamie, I don't want to steal your talking point here. I think being able to speak directly to the administration about some of the concerns and some of the ways that we think that we can address it, it's bringing the American people into public service, right? And into what the government is going to do to help course correct where we are.
Yeah, and look, we had Moms for Liberty chapter chairs there. They got to meet Robert Kennedy Jr., Lena Ava. They got to meet press secretary, who I really want to meet her. She looks really awesome. Who else was there? Oh, Linda McMahon.
And Pam Bondi. I had a dream about Pam Bondi last night. We were sitting at a table having a great conversation.
Oh, that's funny. From New York to New Jersey, right? Is that where? Yeah. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah. Let me see. There's some other.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the other things, right? Is like the things that we've all believed personally, you know, whether it was organic food or non-toxic fragrances or products or vaccine awareness, it's kind of, you know, all become under this umbrella of parental rights in a way that it's connected us, and not only how these things affect us in our personal lives, but within education, right? I never would have thought that one of our schools here would have invited volunteers from the Virginia Department of Health to have a vaccine clinic during the school day. That blew me away. I could not believe it. Also, you know, I'm in Virginia, what vaccines are mandated to go into 7th grade. And like in the very tiny, you know, writing in the bottom, it's like, well, not really if the parent doesn't want them. And so like you're saying, 5 years ago, my, you know, I had a 2-year-old, a kindergartner and a 4th grader. And so my awareness of just how involved they needed to be in the, you know, upbringing and education of my daughters has it's really vastly expanded, not just from curriculum, but from, you know, health and wellness and just, you know, now, like you said, Roz, we're looking at, you know, what's in these school lunches, right? So what's in breakfast, what's in lunches, and then we're having a lot of disciplinary issues. Yeah. And it all connects. And so I don't know if you can care about one. And so that's what happened to me during COVID. If you sat me in my house for 2 weeks and then started, you know, putting some very specific topics on the news, and I started going down these rabbit holes, yes, and haven't stopped since. It's all connected and thread. Yeah, the unraveling began.
I know. It was like I was like watching, like looking into everything and reading medical paper, like this is proving that, you know, the kids don't need a mask or the kids are going to be fine. It's not what you think it is. And believing that if I were to write like basically a thesis with citations and send it off to my school board, that they would listen. And that if we showed up in person and talked to our school board, they were definitely going to change their mind. And only to see that they had a predetermined outcome. They let us all come and say our piece. And then they did what they were always going to do. They were never going to consider our children. They weren't going to consider actual science. They were just going to do what they were told. And that's what I realized, like so many people will just do what they're told, even if it's not right, just to be nice, just like we were talking about.
Well, my experience here, like in Fauquier County, was that when we went back to school in August of 2021, our school board voted for mask choice. And within 2 weeks, that made a lot of people very angry around the county that did not believe that, and around the state. And then that public health order came in from the health commissioner, basically saying like, absolutely not. And so even the people that were good and wanted to give, the choice, those decisions were taken away from them at the most local level. So that's the conversation, those are conversations we're having now. Or do we support executive orders and mandates? It's like, yes, but it can be, the pendulum can swing both ways.
It sure can. We support them now, but they weren't a lot of fun to live under during COVID.
Right.
And,
Right.
you have to think about that. That's important. And I think, and I just remember that where at some point in Wisconsin, because we had the state Supreme Court, which was more conservative, by May of 2020, they had ruled that the Governor Evers, had his executive orders and his declaration of, an emergency went too far. And so in Wisconsin, it became a choice everywhere except one area, and that was schools. In schools or federal buildings, those were the areas that did not have a choice. So that really sucked, that my kids had to wear masks and I didn't. And I still feel guilty that I did send them to school with masks, and I did all these tricks. I tried to make them like almost sheer. I did a lot of things, but they needed to be in school. They needed to be with their peers, but it just killed me that they had to wear masks to be in school. I hated it.
And now the truth has come out.
Yep. I eventually moved my kids to different schools in order to avoid. I finally, when things didn't change, and I know a lot of parents did that, or they homeschooled, we petitioned, we tried to get special exemptions, medical exemptions if our kids had, they were autistic or they had speech delays. I mean, can you imagine? My daughter, who had speech delay, had to go to see a speech therapist wearing a mask while the speech therapist was wearing a mask. That's just, I was so angry.
Right. Like my son is deaf in one ear, and like to have the mask on, like everybody around him, like that's additional muffling of said sound that he already has a hard time hearing. It didn't matter. It didn't matter that they weren't impacted. They weren't dying. They weren't getting sick. It was what the union wanted, right?
Yep. And now we know that. And Randy,
I think that's right. Great segue into Randy's comments really recently, and even
oh yes,
about the dismantling of the Department of Education.
Yes,
I know.
And she basically said, like, she made some comment about like, let's not start a woke war, right? We understand about the bureaucracy and all that, and it's like,
yeah, they started it. They don't want to finish it, but they started it. They went after
it. We're going to finish it.
There are more parents in this country than there are members of a teachers union. So you FAFO'd, and now you're in the second F. Like,
amen. Amen. Yeah. So what happened? So we should set this up. So what happened this week? The good news about the Department of Education, the beginning of the end, we all hope. I'm going to bring up that image right now.
Do you find it? Yeah, didn't they like cut the jobs, right, from the Department of Education? And
all Department of Education offices were ordered to be vacated at 6 p.m. and that was on Tuesday, right? Is it Tuesday or Wednesday? My days are off because of going to Madison every day.
I have no idea what day it is.
Yeah, it was on Tuesday. So yesterday, let me see. But they were on March 11th. So on March 11th, they were ordered vacated through Thursday. That's today. And Tina was able to attend a phone conversation with the Department of Education and received some information kind of early on about what was going on. And you can see Tina right here saying thank you. Nearly half of the Department of Education staff are set to be eliminated imminently. And we're still trying to figure out like exactly what does that mean? What is that going to look like? And I think I obviously think it's a good idea, but what I think that there's so much about the Department of Education that is just bureaucratic waste. And I know that there was some images that Erica Donalds had posted. The average teacher makes $60,000 a year, and the average bureaucrat for the Department of Education makes double that. And what are they doing? What are they doing to help kids? How are they helping to teach kids to read? They're getting paid a lot of money, and we don't know what they do. Not much.
So I think having like working in the nonprofit or the for-profit world, right? Like, and let's go back to COVID. So at my previous career, when COVID happened and we worked with schools, we had a 30% reduction in force, RIF, right? Which is exactly what's happening at the Department of Education. If you stayed on and you didn't lose your job, you had to take a 20% pay cut. Why? Because there was no work to be done. And so what I think is so interesting, and while, again, I don't not have empathy for, but in the private sector world, RIFs happen often. People lose their jobs, even if they're really good at them. And so there's this sense of entitlement that our federal employees seem to have. And I can't obviously speak for all of them of like, how dare I lose my job, right? Like I'm untouchable. And it's like, welcome to the real world. Like we don't need this many employees to run this efficiently and effectively. So we want to do right by you as best as possible, because losing a job is hard, right? Like everyone can agree with that. Losing your job and losing your job, surprisingly, right? How does this impact my family? How does this impact my bills? All of those things are valid. And yet there's like, we don't need you to do this job and do it effectively. So I understand the shock of it, but like, you should have seen this coming at the same time. I'm here for it. I'm here for it 110%. None of the programs are going away. None of the supports to children are going away. Anybody who's promoting that, it's fake news. It's not true. And so I think it's an exciting time for the future of American education. So sign me up.
Yeah, and we can see here that what we know so far, 1,300 positions will be cut from the Department of Education, a reduction of half the workforce. Most of these positions are duplicate. Each department had its own IT, HR. Think about this. Each department had its own IT, HR. Basically, each department had, a whole full staff, which is unnecessary and redundant. Employees will be on paid leave until June and receive severance packages, which is great. And offices will be shut down. They're terminating leases in San Francisco, New York, Boston, Chicago, Dallas, and Columbus. And I would imagine these are very woke areas. And these cuts will not impact IDEA funds, which is Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act. They won't affect state funding, and they will still be able to process civil rights complaints. This is over $500 million in savings. So I think this is all good. This was a bureaucracy that was a jobs program for, I think, the far left. And I'm sure they're very upset. And I'm sure, as we know, Randy Weingarten is very upset. She won't be able to go to the Caesar's Palace anymore, on our dime. I'd be upset too if I lost my free vacations every year. But, I think she'll have to manage.
Well, they're planning a walk-in in protest to the changes at the Department of Education. I'm not sure if you saw that, but yeah, the NEA, it's like we're gonna get to school early, and we're gonna all walk in together to protest. You're like, okay, thanks for showing up to your taxpayer-funded job. Thank you.
Well, they know they can't walk out because that would be very unpopular. That would not look good. Teachers are still reeling from COVID, to be honest. before COVID, I viewed all teachers like, oh, we in that same awe, like you put them up on a pedestal with your doctors and the people in your community, your police officers. And after COVID, you're kind of like, doctors, maybe not so much. And then teachers, definitely, when you saw teachers that were acting hysterical, I know in my kids' schools, there were teachers that were literally yelling at them saying, you are killing me, or you're going to kill my mother if you don't put your mask over your nose, that filthy, dirty mask they'd been wearing all day that was full of snot and boogers. Like if they wore that, oh, that was magically going to save lives. They lost it. And a lot of them,
it certainly created a level of hesitancy and distrust, right? So, that doesn't go away. That just like you just keep peeling back more layers of that.
That's not all
in
teachers.
your effort to do good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're going to try to convince me that the sunshine and fresh air is going to kill me, I don't know if I can trust you.
What about this? Walking around holding plexiglass. My teenage daughter had to walk the halls holding plexiglass.
No, for real?
Yes, they had to walk carrying their plexiglass in front of their face, and then would sit at the desk and put it down so that they were covered by plexiglass. During one-way hallways, masks. Girls were getting UTIs because they basically could not use the bathrooms. They like shut down a bunch of bathrooms, or if the bathroom was like, you leave this, your classroom and the bathroom is just a little bit off to the right. Well, if it was a one-way hallway going the wrong way, you may have to walk all the way around because you couldn't jaywalk. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. They made schools into juvenile detention centers. It was awful.
And now they won't make them that again for the bad kids, right? For the troublemakers. But so the question I have is, are we celebrating here at Moms for Liberty what has happened at the Department of Education? Are we celebrating?
Yes. I think so. I think so.
I'm celebrating for a lot of.
I do have a question.
I think something that we really celebrate at Moms for Liberty is getting involved, right? So not sitting on the sidelines and getting involved and asking questions and being part of the process and getting a seat at the table, right? That's something here at Moms for Liberty that we celebrate. And so 100% we are celebrating this.
We're celebrating this. I'm super happy with Linda McMahon, Secretary Linda McMahon. She's doing a great job. And now the only caveat I have is how this money is going to go back to the states, because in Wisconsin, our state superintendent, Jill Underly, is someone I absolutely do not trust. You give her more money and she is going to spend it just the way the Department of Education and Randy Weingarten want her to, the old Department of Education. Like, it's going to go to a bunch of woke garbage, and It's not go to kids. It's not going to go to teachers. It's not going to go to communities. It's going to go to, poverty pimps that run around selling their woke wares. So,
then I think the answer to that is, do you have a Moms for Liberty chapter in your county? Do you want to go to momsforliberty.org and start a chapter, or become a member and get, don't sit on the sideline, like get involved. And I think what is it like? Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Like,
yep.
And Jamie, to that point, like let's look at the MAHA Roundtable that just happened, and like you pulled up, Scarlett, that Tina's sharing. Our co-founder and executive director at Moms for Liberty, she's sharing. I was on a call with the Department of Education. Here's what we know. Right? The parents are the people in the room now. It's not Randy. It's not Becky. It's not bloated bureaucrats. It's the parents who are the primary decision makers. And so if you want to be involved in the future of American education, the best place to be is as a member of Moms for Liberty, right? And to be a supporter. And because we're the ones who are getting the seats at the table and helping to deliver on President Trump's executive orders and getting them moved over to Congress to get turned into laws, to get turned into change. So there's never been a better time to join Moms for Liberty.
No, you're right. I mean, when Tina is being asked to join calls in which really important policy decisions are being made. When Pat is getting calls, hey, we would like to have, 5 members of Moms for Liberty join us at the White House, and Jamie,
Pat is our national chapter chair coordinator. Right. So these are direct connections, that are happening every day right now in this administration. And we're barely 2 months in.
Yeah. And Jamie, you were there in the White House with your daughters.
Right.
How many Moms for Liberty members were there that day? It's like 20.
I mean, I would say we'd easily had over a dozen Moms for Liberty members and our daughters from over a dozen states. So we, both co-founders, Tiffany Justice and Tina Deskovich, were at the White House on the signing of, for the executive order to keep men out of women's sports. And, it was really surreal. I mean, so we're standing behind President Trump with our daughters, with our these members and other coalition members, and looking out at Tina and Tiffany, who started this organization in January of 2021. And you couldn't help but be emotional just seeing, the last 4 years come to play. And we're sitting in the White House. We're sitting in the White House
with your girls.
Yep. My daughter and yep.
Yeah, I was watching it. We were watching it. We had legislative day in Wisconsin. And so it just ended and we put it on the screen. And I was tearing up. I was so excited. And I'm like, oh, there's Meredith. Oh, there's Kid. Oh, there's Jamie, like try to find the kids. And it was so emotional for me because we'd fought so hard for this. This is just so meaningful. We're still fighting. I mean, look at, I spent 2 weeks trying to get legislation through the state of Wisconsin to codify, which is important because executive orders only last as long as the president who gave them. So we need to codify the language of the executive order into every single state. Like our statutes need to reflect that order, defining sex, male, female, removing gender identity as a protected class, protecting our daughters' sports and their private spaces. We have to do the work as we march back through the institutions that these woke crazy people took from us, and we have to reclaim them.
Roslyn was in Annapolis testifying. What was that, last week or the week before?
Oh, they all run together, don't they, ladies?
That's the thing. Like, we're talking about the moms who used to volunteer, in classrooms. Like, we used to take seats at the lunch table, and here you are, testifying.
In our legislative halls at the national level, right? Moms get it done.
Yep. In Maine, where we're so Maine, then we know that in Iowa, they met with their legislature to remove gender identity as a protected class. Maryland is right now, there's a whole bunch of bills just like ours in Wisconsin, right? We
could have a whole field day call just on the shenanigans that are Maryland and how we're fighting back.
We should, because I don't know enough. We should state by state, like what's going on. Like we should. Yeah. I know for you, Maryland's where it was the condom vending machine.
Yeah, we wanted to decriminalize condoms in nursery and elementary schools. Yeah, we want condom and not just condoms, prophylactics and contraceptive. So, Plan B. Yeah, that's where we wanted to decriminalize that.
It was called the condom. Condoms for kiddies bill, right?
Condoms for kiddies. Yeah, but we killed it because sunshine is the best disinfectant. Like, in what world would you want this? Like, somebody tell me why.
No, but I just saw a clip from Sarah McBride, and he was saying that right now Republicans are only their only war is like fighting culture wars, and it's like and I have my dollar ready for the swear jar, but yeah, damn straight.
I will fight all day long to keep contraception out of elementary schools. Yes.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, that is
Yes.
what's worth waiting for. And I have a clip to put on.
Did you see that clip?
Yeah. So here is Sarah McBride. Okay. Like, it's a dude. Okay. He's a dude. But yeah, you know what? Yeah, we're fighting the culture wars because it is the
I
battle.
just shared it.
The battle. Oh, you have it? Okay, let's add it.
Yeah, go to. It's short. It's like a minute, but
Oh yeah, let's put it on. Hold on. I didn't see it in the clip. You have it. Did you send it to me? I'll find it. You guys keep talking while I find it. It's right
no.
here.
If you just if you go to my Twitter, but anyway, he basically just says like we're not going to take lectures from people who were involved in an insurrection, and that only want to fight culture wars. It's right there. Yep.
There we go. All right. Yeah, let's listen to it.
I appear to live rent-free in the minds of some of my Republican colleagues.
Sounds like a dude.
I wish that they would spend even a fraction of the time that they spend thinking about me, thinking about how to lower the costs for American families. I wish they would spend a fraction of the time that they spend thinking about me, figuring out how to make government actually work better, rather than making it work worse in order to prove that government can't work.
The boobs are in the.
They are obsessed with culture war issues. The Republican Party is obsessed with culture war issues. It is weird and it is bizarre.
Oh.
And the American people deserve serious legislators, serious elected officials who are focused on bringing people together to deliver real results for the American people, not to play games and not to engage in schoolyard taunts.
Whatever. Look, first of all, like,
So
I can't.
the dude who looks like a lady wants us to have serious conversations.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
The boobs are in the wrong spot. The boobs are like, his boobs are like by his stomach. So he needs to, like, whatever he's wearing, he needs to adjust. That's
I don't even care. You know what I care about? I care about the women standing behind that men, and they need a little to be a little bit more good and a little less nice.
Yep.
I just if he were going to the halls of Congress in blackface, how would we respond?
Well, that was my comment. So when I retweeted, I said like woman face is gross. Outside of all these other things.
This is what it is. It's
gross.
woman
We have to
face.
stop.
It's sexual appropriation. And that we're tolerating it actually shows that, like, the misogyny that still exists. And that you go back to Cattleman, like, where are the real men in the room standing up? And that's because the majority of men we have now are the weak men, right? And we're going through this phase where we're going to get our strong men. And because we had to, like, where are the men saying no? Besides in the Republican Party? No,
Right.
no
Yep.
woman face. No.
Nope. And not going to call him, her, or she, not going to say, like, even in our hearing yesterday, several people that were testifying kept saying, no, I'm a she, I'm a ma'am. And I think some Republicans that don't believe that complied to be nice. I will not comply. This is a dude. This is a man. He pronouns. I'm not going to go along with this. And frankly, when I was there all day, I had to keep going to a different restroom because there were so many men going into the female restroom that were testifying. And they kept coming up to me saying, where's the women's restroom? And I'm like, you need the male restroom, which is over that way. But they were taunting me by parading and going into the female restroom, so much so that we all had to go use, all the actual women didn't feel comfortable and we all had to use a different restroom, in my state capitol. So yeah, I experienced that where, it's crazy. It's crazy. And no one was I think I was one of the only people that were actually saying like, no, you're not a female. You shouldn't be using that bathroom. And finally, at the end of the day, when I went in, I'm literally like looking in this, like making sure, am I alone? Am I the only female in this restroom? And
Well, what's the old saying? Like, if you don't have anything nice to say, come sit by me. Like, right? There's got to be people in the room.
If you want to be good, not nice, come join Moms for Liberty. Like, we will run into the fire.
Yeah.
We will be on the lookout to go rescue the people in the sinking ship. We will put sunshine on the hard truths, right? Because it's the good thing to do.
Right.
It's a lot harder, but it's the good
And you can
thing.
say the good, true things with a smile on your face, right? Like,
yes. Yep. I wasn't mean at all. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't cruel. I just was like, you shouldn't go there. That's not for you. You're a man.
You're unwell.
Yeah. And they were, and
Tell
they
your friends.
they were kind of, if you're strong, if you really believe in what you believe, like I think most of the time, there's bullies go after the people that I think that they can abuse. But if you are strong and sure of yourself and confident, that stuff is just, you're going to be Teflon. And the only time they ever really feel emboldened is when they're the keyboard warriors and they're hiding behind they're don't even have their real name. So, and that, who cares about that? Like, those are just cowards.
I think we gotta save keyboard warriors for the next chat, because
there are lots of those. Kit has a keyboard warrior.
Do you have feelings about keyboard warriors?
I have feelings.
Are we keyboard warriors?
Yeah.
Not for nothing.
Oh no, I'm a keyboard warrior and a warrior. Like, I do both.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you've got to start somewhere.
Isn't that why we're?
I want to know what you're doing next.
Exhausted moms.
That's right.
We do both.
If you want to start your advocacy on the keyboard, who am I to stop you? What are you doing next?
Yeah, and you can do it. And usually, like, it's not like I'm not trolling, like going to the account, like saying all. It's usually you're commenting on, like with Sarah McBride, like what he is doing. He's coming after us first, and we're just responding because he's basically saying, hey, I'm a woman and you all are just a bunch of transphobes who don't really care about issues. Like, we really care about issues. Like, he just wants to be somebody. He doesn't care about the issues. He just wants to be, the trans, like, thing of the day. And he's the one obsessed with his woman face and fake boobs that sag way too low. So,
and with that,
good part.
Definitely not nice. We're good.
I'm gonna have to text my response. I don't have another single on me for the swear jar today.
Yeah, we were going to talk about Meghan Markle.
I have to go pick up my kids from school.
Yes, we'll Meghan Markle for a whole nother topic, because she is such a real, authentic woman we can all relate to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, we'll have to save Megan. But all right, ladies, it was good talking to you.
Yes, it was nice.
Thanks for the good in the world. All right.
It was nice talking to you. Let's go get our kids and get them ready for whatever they have next. Tutoring, track, cross country, all the things. There's a lot going on.
Bye, ladies. Go be good.
Bye.